So you play 4-player casual, want to show your friends how nasty, I mean fun to play against Teemo is. Well, stay tuned as I know I'll be able to make your Teemo deck more fun to play. Let's start with the main mechanic, Hidden, which allows you to play cards with the hidden keyword face down at a battlefield, so yeah, they're basically Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap cards. Let's have a quick re-review of what his legend does. You may pay 1 energy to hide a card with Hidden instead of a power. Pay 1 energy and exhaust this card, put a Teemo unit you own into your hand from your champion zone on the board. What makes this so cool is that now we don't have to recycle rooms to play our hidden cards. Our room pool is going to slowly fill up throughout the game, which allows us to scale and play those bigger cards later on. And his second ability gives us the option to move the Teemo in our champion zone into our hand. However, remember, as per the base rules, you can still hide the Teemo straight from your champion zone for just 1 energy, thanks to the legend rule. But don't forget you can still bring him back to your hand with his second ability, which will always keep your opponents guessing as to what card you're hiding at a battlefield. Next, let's look at our champion unit, Teemo Strategist. He has the ability to reveal cards from the top of our deck, rewarding us for hidden cards found. I'm currently playing this at 2, as it can be really dead in the late game, but I may be considering cutting it to 1 as well, as sometimes I just don't find I need the second one. Point to note, this card received a really important errata post-release, which does change how the card works quite significantly. If your playgroup's chill and is happy to play exactly how it's written, then it basically works the exact same way. But for those interested, just make sure you only trigger his ability at the correct timings, which is only when you defend, not when hidden. And make sure you have to declare which enemy unit you're going to target first before you activate the effect. So what about the other Teemo card, Teemo Scout? In short, I do not play this card because it is so bad in 4-player, which I absolutely hate because the BMO art is so amazing. I love it. But 4 might just for 1 turn does not make the cut. If it was written slightly differently and it gave you +3 might until your next turn, it might be good. But as soon as it goes back down to 1 might, the next opponent is taking over that battlefield straight away. So let's look at our core mechanic, Nocturne Horrifying. 4 energy, 4 might, ganking. When you look at cards from the top of your deck and see me, you may play me for 1 power. So we cheat this card out by revealing it with Teemo's ability, usually playing it straight onto battlefield we control. With it also having ganking next turn, it can immediately become a threat to other battlefields. So we know what this deck wants to do. It wants to hold a battlefield with traps and reveal cards to cheat out Nocturne. So let's look at the rest of the cards that make up the core build of this deck. Let's start with the most fun part of this deck, the hidden cards. Blast Cone Fae and Sprite Call are must-includes that give you an additional unit on the battlefield and can really surprise your opponent with extra might when you defend. Definitely 3 of each of these. Blast Cone Fae has the added benefit of being playable on your turn to make a ready unit, which is great at taking over an undefended battlefield. Then you can reinforce it with more of your hidden cards. Fight or Flight is the best hidden card in the deck, easily 3 of, and it's so universal you can use it before you attack to remove an opponent's unit and easily take a battlefield, or use it on the defense and save one of your units when you know you're going to lose. Really good for saving Teemo and keeping his ability going. Next, Consult the Past. With Teemo, 1 energy to draw 2. Absolutely cracked. Play 3 of this. You can also use it to bluff your opponents if you've got Ember Monk on the field. So reveal this. Ember Monk gains 2 might for the turn. You win a fight and draw 2. Play 3 every day of the week. Our last hidden card is Tide Turner. Now I played 2 copies of this, mainly because there's no other hidden cards to choose from at the moment. However, there are some cool tricks you can do with this guy. Like if you've got ready units on your battlefield, you can play this guy to your base, swap it with the unit at the battlefield, then it's ready to attack. This is great with Nocturne or bigger units, which I'll show you later. And last, we're going to round out with Ember Monk, who's our hidden payoff. 2 additional might when you play a card from hidden. The fear of 6 to 8 might plus the additional effects of your hidden cards can be a real obstacle for your opponents. Definitely 3 of. This is another great contender to save with Fight or Flight if you have to concede a battlefield. Then, rounding out our Nocturne synergy cards, we're going to play 3 stacked deck and 1 promising future. 3 copies of Stack Deck is more chances to reveal Nocturne. You also get a card to hand so you can dig into your deck for any answers on the board, whether that's hidden cards, more card draw, or big creatures, removal, you name it. 1 copy of Promising Future, it's a dumb card, okay, but it is fun, and you could cut it if you wanted, but I put it in because it fills the same role as Teemo to reveal cards. However, it's better in the late and mid game because you get the effect immediately. You can also try and politics with this and use it to stop one opponent who is out of control, and you could try and get the 2 other opponents on your side if you get them something good. Next, we want more card draw, as you can never have enough card draw, so 2 copies of Mushroom Pouch, which will easily net us card advantage while playing our game plan of hiding cards. Only 2 copies of this one, as we don't want to keep seeing this in our hand. Too many in it, it's just dead weight. And last card to round out the core build is Guerrilla Warfare. This is Teemo's signature spell, which is going to recur hidden cards back to our hand. It also makes it free to hide cards that turn, so really powerful if you hold Bandle City. I'm currently playing this at 1 just to keep it a bit budget, but I think 2 might be better. That rounds out the core cards of the deck build, and you can experiment with 2 or 3 copies of some of the cards in the core, but that eats up 29 cards in the deck list, which leaves 11 cards to try and fill some of our weaknesses. The deck's currently got good resources to hold a battlefield, but what if we go last in the turn order, or there's just too many big units to beat in combat? We need ways to get back into the game, as all of our 3 to 4 white creatures are just not going to do it. So let's look at our interaction cards. First, I'm playing Gust. As previously mentioned, this deck can feel really rough when going last. If all of your opponents move on to each of the battlefields, it can delay our game plan by multiple turns. So with Gust, you can turn 1, play a 2-cost unit. Turn 2, Gust an enemy unit to free up a battlefield, and then move on to Conquer. I did also experiment with Rebuke, which is better in the mid and late game, but I did find the 2 power cost just kept reducing my rune pool too much, and I was really struggling to get up to like 6-8 runes. Next is Smokescreen, easily the best combat trick in blue. 2 energy to reduce a unit's might by 4. With this you can easily hold against unit with 6 to 8 might. But I'm only playing 2 copies, which might surprise you, but I just found the power cost could be a little bit draining on my rune pool sometimes. And the deck is quite tight to fit in more copies, but you could maybe cut a hidden card and put this up to 3. Next, 1 copy of Acceptable Losses. With no side deck and casual, it is good to try and cover all kinds of removal in your deck. I've been playing against lots of dazzling Aurora decks lately, and because there's no gear removal, they literally just win every game. So I like this card because it also hits every player, so if there are multiple problem gears, you can basically clear the board. Another option for this is Fading Memories, which you could use instead. Higher cost, but it can also deal with problem units. Our last interaction card is Unchecked Power. Late game, this can sometimes clear the entire board if everyone's big units are on the battlefields. Due to the high cost, however, and the fact we only want to see it in the late game, just 1 copy of this one. Now, to round things out, we just need some extra fighting power. Our Teemos, Nocturnes and Ember Monks are just going to need a bit of extra punch to get us through some of the bigger units that other decks are going to be playing. There's multiple choices you can make for the cards in the next category, but between them try and run at 5 copies. This should give us a 75% chance to see at least one of them by turn 4. That includes your mulligan of 2 and a drawing on each turn. In my deck I'm running 2 copies of Dr. Mundo, whose might increases by the amount of cards in the trash. Usually by late game when this comes out, even in the worst case scenario you only have about 5 cards in your trash, he's 13 plus might, which is usually more than enough to beat most battlefields. Next, 2 Mega Mech. 8 might body, great to conquer and great to reinforce. It's also a super cheap card at the moment, and also has no power costs. It keeps your rune pool nice and big in the late game. The very last card is 1 Possession. What's more fun than stealing your opponent's best card? Only 1 copy though, as we can't guarantee we're going to steal something good. Also, the energy cost is super high. Other options you can play are Thousand-Tailed Watcher, easily the strongest option by far, as it can come out ready if you pay the acceleration cost. However, it is a bit pricey at the moment. Another option is Ava Achiever, which does let you play hidden cards from your hand while you attack, but I found the downside of this is that while you've got no hidden cards in your hand, it's just so weak. Lastly, before we move on to battlefields and runes, we're going to go through honourable mentions. Number 1, Singularity. Deal 6 damage to up to 2 units. Really good in a 4-player game as it can reset 2 players. I'm not playing because I don't have enough copies at the moment to experiment, but I think you could easily slot this in somewhere. Riptide Rex for number 2. Again, it can remove problem creature cards at battlefields, and it's a nice body too. Last card, Time Warp. Again, really not budget friendly and a bit more on the competitive side, but this is a deck all about holding, so once you're up to 7 points, play this and you've just won the game. Next, let's round off the battlefields. First, Bandle Tree. You may hide an additional card here, which goes without explaining. This deck is all about hiding, and the ability to hide 2 cards at a battlefield is huge when you have it. No one wants to try and tackle you and approach you with 2 unknown cards. In fact, the game can sometimes feel a bit rough when you don't have this battlefield. But next, Candlelit Sanctum. Again, this is Nocturne synergy, so when you conquer here, you can look at the top 2 cards of your main deck, and you can recycle one or both. So another chance to reveal Nocturne, more power on the board. And lastly, Hallowed Tomb. When you hold here, you may return your chosen champion from your trash to your champion zone. Really good at always making sure we have a Teemo in play. And finally, runes. I've gone for 8 Mind runes and 4 Chaos runes. Most of our deck uses Mind for power, but more importantly, I found it so important to make sure I have at least 1 Mind rune on turn 1. That way, if I don't draw a 2-cost unit, I can always play Teemo on my first turn and use him to conquer. And that rounds out the deck tech. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below for the cards you're most excited to add to your Teemo deck from Spirit Forged, Riftbound's next set. And that's all for this one. Ciao, bye!